Win by not losing in retirement. That's critical, important. My man Greg had emailed that saying to me, I could not agree more. So I want to share with you something here, guys. There's two phases of investing. You want to guess what the two phases are? One, we've got the accumulation phase, and one is we got the decumulation phase. The accumulation is when you're building assets. Most likely, most of us are putting money in. So not only do a market declines not bother us at all that much because we're still working and we're not tapping into our money, but it's even a double whammy. We're putting money in. So not only are we not taking money out, we're adding to it. And when the market's going down, we're buying when shares are low. On the other hand, the decumulation side, not only are we not putting money in, we're actually pulling money out. And we're pulling money out even when the market's down, which is a double whammy on the negative. Two completely different phases here. And a lot of people, they don't get it. They think they're in the same phase, and they're just not. We're not trying to win the race, i.e. grow as much as we possibly can in retirement. We're trying to keep from sinking the ship. That's all there is to it. Now, that doesn't mean you don't have any stocks or anything like that. And if you say, well, I want to leave a legacy to my children, that's fine. But even if you want to leave a legacy to your children, you got to protect what you got first and foremost. And that's just, you win by not losing. Anyway, so I want to go to my man Daniel Kulibert's 55e.co, and I'll show you the link for this here in just a second. And this is his bucket strategy spreadsheet here. And what we're going to do is we're going to take $1 million, and I want to put it right there. And we're just going to put $500,000 into each I just want to show you guys something here real quick. $500,000 into each, real quick, boink. And we're going to start in 1966 because 1966 to 1982, if you can survive that, you can survive almost anything. I mean, it could always get worse, but it's tough to get worse in 1966 and 1982. All right, and the reason is because the inflation was so high. The markets did not do well, and the inflation was so high. You can easily survive the Great Depression just by having a bunch of bonds at fixed income. That's just a fact. The odds of this century were bad, but because inflation was low, it wasn't that bad. And by the way, large cap value stocks and bonds, for the most part, survived up until 2000, and even government bonds survived in 2008. So again, if you have cash and low inflation, you probably came out okay in the odds. It's in 1966 to 1982 that was the beast we got to deal with for sure. And if you look here, you're going to see what happened here? Hold a second. $500,000 into each portfolio, the S&P 500 and the 1 month T-bill, because that's cash. And you can see the T-bill is worth $1.24 million at the end of right here right there, $1.439 million at the end of 1981. The S&P 500 is worth $1.25 million. All right, so you can see, I mean, just the T-bills actually did better. And frankly, if you actually look at BLS, what you're going to see here is if you put $500,000 into so I'll show you what I'm talking about. $500,000 means you need $1.3 million to break even in terms of purchasing power. This is a CPI inflation calculator. So if you had $500,000 of spending in 1966, that same spending, you need $1.3 million to have the same spending. And look, T-bills beat it. S&P 500 did not. So the S&P 500, even though it averaged almost a little bit more than 7.5, I think 7.5, it didn't beat inflation. So inflation averaged about 7.8, 7.9. All right, so so inflation beat the S&P 500 during that time frame. Inflation did not beat T-bills. It was close, but did not. Now that's not factoring taxes and all that, but the T-bills were I'm going to say your reprieve because I'm going to show you there wasn't really a reprieve. But anyway, so what we're going to do here is we're going to come over here and let me show you the website. Here's my man Daniel Kulibert's 55e.com or .co, not com. For 55 elephants. I think Daniel loves his elephants. I love elephants too, actually. Looks like the Alabama Crimson Tide right there. Look at all these free spreadsheets. Social Security break even, Affordable Care Act, government savings, matrix book, taxes by state. It's freaking fantastic. It says paid ones are taxation, bucket strategy, and Monte Carlo simulations. We're going to use the bucket strategy right here. So what we're going to do is we're going to put $600,000 into T-bills. And we're going to put $400,000 into S&P 500. We're going to take $45,000 a year. That's 4.5%. That's a 4.5% withdrawal amount. All right, and then we're just going to see how we looked. And look, that portfolio lasted for 24 years. Not too shabby. Not too shabby. 24 years. It lasted until 1989. Most of you guys were dead by then, but still, you did run out of money. But now we're going to rebalance it. Look at that. It lasted 29 years if you rebalanced it. All right. I mean, that's, because you're taking, I mean, again, the T-bills did okay. They never had any negative year. I'm telling you. So note. Wait a second. They put all the whole thing. Why did they put all that? Hold on a second. We got to change that over. Bear with me. Bear with me. It's pretty interesting. I didn't realize to do that. But because I'm not having any bucket years left, after the first year, we're rebalancing everything in the S&P 500. Because I'm telling the software, hey, don't keep anything in cash in bucket one. And you can put bucket one to be whatever you want. It doesn't have to be cash. That's actually pretty interesting. I didn't realize it was doing that. Good stuff, Dan. Anyway, so the point being is because we missed that 1 year, look at this. If we don't rebalance, and we're taking $45,000 a year out, we run out of money in 24 years. Now, I want to explain how this is working, by the way, because we're keeping, what this is doing is selling from if the S&P 500 is down, as the reds indicate, we're not taking any distributions from the S&P 500, all right? If the S&P 500 is up, we're taking our distributions from the S&P 500. So we got 4.5% a year adjusted for inflation. Again, I challenged the inflation adjustment stuff, but we're going to go with it for this scenario. And just by, look at that, we're not keeping any in reserves. We're just saying we're going to have $600,000 in the bucket one, which is T-bills, $400,000 S&P 500, bucket two, and we're not going to rebalance or do anything. We're just going to let it roll. And we run out of money in 24 years. Still pretty good, mind you. But now if we just, watch this, we're going to hit that one point right there. We're going to miss that negative 10% first year rate of return. And we put in the stock market, and we're going to put everything else left in the stock market. We ran out of money near 29. I find that's spectacular. Just missing a small, just missing that small one right there. We ran out of money 5 years later. We survived 5 years later. Isn't that crazy? It's amazing to me. That one little bit of down market risk of the first year doomed you. Now let's do this. That's rebalancing. Let's do a 4 years cash bucket, and you're going to see here. Oops, 4 years cash point. There we go. Yeah, there we go. So here we ran out of money again in year 24. It's still pretty good, man. That's the worst market you've ever had in the United States relative to inflation and everything. And here the stocks ran out of money there in 1980. The bonds didn't run out of money until 1989. So we're just living off bonds. Yeah, you can rebalance. So let's see what does rebalance. Not much difference. Hold on a second. We're going to hit because I still got to keep 4 years cash. Yeah, so you can see we rebalanced it. There we go. I had to change over. We rebalanced it here, but we still ran out of stocks in 1985. We ran out of bonds in 1989. So the rebalancing didn't really do much for us. What did everything for us was this right here. Oops, excuse me. We want to go to getting rid of that cash bucket right there. What did everything was missing that 10% decline. You win by not losing. Isn't that crazy? So let's put it this, let's try something else. We're going to go to our typical 60-40 portfolio, and that ran out of money in year 24 years as well, 1989. And we're just, again, you can see we're not touching the stocks and the markets are down. We're only touching the stocks when they're up, all right? And we ran out of money. Now let's do a 4-year cash bucket again. Again, here we got 40% in stock and bonds, 60% in stocks. Just want you guys to know that. And that 4-year, that didn't do anything either. So even though we keep 4 years of cash, didn't do anything. Crazy. Let's rebalance. And now we're running out of money earlier in 23 years. And then we're going to do no bucket here in 27 years. So here, because it's crazy to me. Here, because we had more. All right, so what's happening here? Everything is the same. So we had 60% in bond and T-bills, 40% in stocks. Now we got 60% in stocks and 40% in T-bills. And just we said that extra 200,000 in stocks cost us 2 years on the front end of a negative 10% rate of return. Cost us 2 years of our portfolio longevity. I mean that, and again, will I say this ever happens again? I don't know. All I know is it happened then, and this is probably where we're going in the future. Stagflation kind of a market, not great rate returns and high inflation. I could be wrong. I don't know. But even if we don't get great rates of return, I mean, even if we don't get high inflation throughout, T-bills always match about the rate of inflation, man. They always do. So we're going to go back to 2000, and we're going to see. Here's rates of return on T-bills. Here's inflation. A couple years, 4.8, 4.7. I mean, it's not all the time. Like, here's a bit better, here's a little bit worse. Better, worse. T-bills weren't giving us anything right there after the great calamity of the global financial crisis. But I guess for the last 10 years, T-bills did not beat inflation. Look, because they kept them down deliberately. Look at that. That's not happening again because now T-bills are paying 5.25. 5.25. Crazy. Yeah, so that didn't work as well in 2009 through 2022 because inflation was up here and T-bills were way low because they're suppressing them with quantitative easing. But basically, up until the great financial crisis or whatever that was called, T-bills always kept up with inflation. They did. And now they had it in this 10-year time frame, but those days are over, in my opinion. Anyway, isn't that nuts? And that doesn't mean you have to stay in T-bills for the rest of your life, like I just showed you. The point is, you win by not losing. Don't get killed the first couple of years, first year particularly. That negative 10% rate of return. It's not even a bear market. That's just a sneeze. That costs you years in your retirement. Crazy. Right. God bless. Love to hear your thoughts. And again, Daniel Kuhlbert's website can be found at 55e.co. And I highly suggest you sign up for the software. I think you'll like it. All right. God bless.